Hi, and welcome back. Today is do-it-yourself mini hexagonal glass lantern, stained glass style. So I buy these little lanterns, or they're used for air plants, and I can buy them on Amazon, and I'll give you the information for materials in the detail page. And since they are an alloy and they don't accept solder very well, you have to wrap the metal in foil, which isn't very difficult. I use three 32nd inch black backed foil, copper foil, that you'd use for normal stained glass work. Right now, I am foiling hexagonal glass tiles that you can use. They're usually under Mosaic glass, and they come in all different colors. And make sure that you press them down, burnish the edges so that they're as smooth as you can make them. I do each corner, as you can see, on its own, and kind of like fold them, sort of like you'd fold like your bed, with your sheets in your bed, if you were not using fitted sheets, I guess. But anyways, so they're nice and smooth. Now for this particular project, since there's so many pieces and it's a three-dimensional thing and it's hard to hold them in place, I pre-attached them with pieces of foil. Now this does give you kind of a more textured, finished look where the solder is concerned. So it's really up to you whether you want to foil them in place, like this, stick them in place, or you want to hold them as you're soldering. So that's up to you. But this way I could tell exactly what size pieces I needed for the rest of the side. What I needed was smaller triangles. So I use standard Mosaic glass. These are the rhombus, I think they call them, or diamond shaped. And I cut those in half. And so now I have two triangles instead of one rhombus piece, and they're smaller than the original pieces. So I have more of a variety of pieces to work with. So this is my hand showing that this new one is a lot smaller than the original triangles that you can get. And of course you could cut the triangles, whatever you want to do. But these made nice pieces, and I used those to fill in for the spaces I showed you earlier. Right now, I am cutting down an hexagonal piece with regular rolling nippers, and I'm trying to get the right size. Now, of course, you could use standard pieces of glass, and you could use regular standard glass cutters if you wanted to for your project. So I'm using these hexagonal ones, and I'm cutting them down to fit and then foiling them with my normal black backed foil. And of course I'm burnishing them down. And then making sure that they fit properly. Now those really, really small triangles at the base of it, I'm just going to fill with solder, because even if I cut a piece of glass to fit there and foiled it, it would end up being completely filled in anyway because it's such a small space. And then I am holding them down with some more foil. Now this this section is almost done, but I needed something at the top, so I took another piece of the glass, and the Mosaic glass that I bought had a variety of shapes, so that was really, really handy. So I could just pick one that would fit fine. And so I took the rectangle and decided to cut the rectangle down a little bit, and then I foiled that. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to get the foil to start, but you get the idea. And these Mosaic glass that you can buy are the same width, thickness as regular stained glass, around 3 millimeters in thickness. And so the foil works just great for them. Now, yeah, I didn't have to do the sides if I didn't want to. It kind of like stuck and stayed in on its own. But since I was doing that for the other pieces, I decided, yeah, why not? So that side is done and the other sides are done, and you can see that the bottom was done and it looks pretty good. I tried to add some foil inside periodically to try to hold the inside together, and I wanted to fill parts of the inside when I was done. But anyway, so that's what the inside looks like, and the outside. And right now I am foiling together the door. So I used copper wire and made the triangular shape for the door itself. I needed a door that I could open and shut so I could put the LED lights in it because I wanted lights. So I'm using the new flux that I got. It's a liquid flux, Novacone liquid flux. I'm still not sure that I really like it that much. So it's fine for flat objects like this when you're working, flat, you don't have a three-dimensional thing. But when you're trying to put the flux on something that's three-dimensional and you're at an angle, it just kind of runs off so quickly that it just kind of makes a mess and doesn't leave the flux where you want it. So I'm still wondering, if I want to go back to my regular gel flux or I want to start using this. I ordered more gel flux, but it's not in yet. So right now, what I have to use is my liquid flux. So, I mean, they both work, so whatever. Um, and I also am going to change my nib soon because this nib is just kind of burnt out. I've used it so much. And as you can see, some of my work, I'm just using so much solder that I think it heats up the nib a little bit more than it really would like to. And maybe I'm not cleaning the nib quite as often as I should because I'm using it, kind of to fill in big gaps. So maybe that's what's burning it out, maybe a little faster than it should, but it still works. So as you can see, it's working quite nicely. It just isn't as smooth as I'd like. So I'm tacking the inside of the pieces. I'm not necessarily soldering everything on the back side, but I do want to at least tack them in place to help hold everything together. I do need to do that opening of the door completely. So I did, as you saw, I did go around the whole opening of the door. So one thing about if you put foil on top of foil, you'll notice when I'm soldering, sometimes the foil completely picks up and kind of floats around. And then sometimes I just get rid of that piece of foil. Or I try to put the foil where it really belongs. The extra foil that I put on the top, especially in that open little arrow space right there, is really just to fill that space so that I don't have to use tons of solder to fill the space. So, that's really up to you. You could have used a piece of silicone or something behind it and just filled it with solder, but I just decided I really would rather have the foil, so I'm not using too much solder, because you can see, even though this whole project's only about 8 inches high, it still uses a lot of solder because there are so many joints between all the pieces of glass. But it is a pretty design. Each side, I alternated the 2 different colors. Now, of course, you could use whatever colors you want. At this point, what I'm doing is I'm going over some of the more gloppy areas and just kind of smoothing them out so that they don't look quite as gloppy as they were. It is hard to make them smooth when you have so many little joints going into each other. So you don't know which one you should, do first, and thus making more joints. And if you heat it up too much, of course, the foil starts coming off. So you get used to what you can do and what you can't do when you're working with such a small object. Obviously, since it's so small, the heat goes from one to the other. Right now, I am outside and I am spraying it with a copper patina, and you can see it's now turning a pretty copper color. So that's what it looked like when it was done. I've washed it now, and it's a really nice coppery patina on it, and I just was really happy with it. Now I have some white LED lights on copper strings, and I am now opening them up. Sometimes it takes a while to get them all loose because they really wind them around each other there. So you have to like work on it, work on it, work on it, try to get them, safely undone so that you can work with them. So I have they're just all the same color. You can buy LED lights in, different colors. Some of them will be battery operated, some will be regular plug-in, and some will be USB plug-in. That's like the normal ones you get these days. And now after that, I free them all up and make them into kind of a mess, like a nest mess, and shove them into my project, making sure that they go all the way to the tip, because that's important. Now I am undoing I have an extension cord for my USB, and I'm plugging that into my lights, and I'm kind of like putting it in the middle of the nest of lights so that it won't show up quite as much. So I'm shoving those in there. And the reason why you notice the door wasn't a complete triangle, it had like a top missing there, was so that there was a space for the cord itself. And I am putting those in. I put little loops on the side to hold them. I had a wire holding the top. And now what I'm doing is I have like a black twist tie that just came with something that I'm using at the top to connect all the extension cord to the loop I had at the top. And I'm not actually using that loop to hang my lights because they're so lightweight. I'm just hanging it from the cord. But I do have that metal little loop that I made at the top that I could have used, or that came with it. But anyways, it's really pretty. This is one of my favorite. But thanks for watching, and have fun creating. Bye-bye.